Steve Rogers, the humble boy from Brooklyn, is given the opportunity to become a super soldier because he exhibits the traits of valor, benevolence, and a dislike of bullies. His sole desire is to fulfill his patriotic duty and fight alongside his brothers from the USA in World War II. Unfortunately, though, his first assignment from Uncle Sam is to sell war bonds to the American public. He is tasked with touring the country, doing shows with pretty dancers and fighting fake Hitler to raise money for the war effort. In the United States, since World War I, war bonds have been marketed during war times as a way for the government to borrow money from the public. During World War II, there was an extensive effort to get money out of circulation due to full employment, potentially causing inflation problems. The government put forth an advertising campaign that appealed to the emotions of the public through pop culture. In addition to Captain America doing touring shows, ads were played on the radio, and even a 16-hour marathon broadcast was held. A special baseball game, known as the Tri-Cornered Baseball Game, was held in New York City, where the Yankees, the Giants, and the Brooklyn Dodgers faced off with each team batting 6 times in the same 9-inning game. This game alone raised $56 million. Famous artists like Norman Rockwell painted the Four Freedoms series that toured art museums in the country. Free movie days were held in theaters nationwide with a bond purchase as an admission. Hollywood celebrities like Frank Sinatra and Bob Hope held rallies around the country. Warner Brothers made a Bugs Bunny cartoon specifically for the effort called Any Bonds Today?
The tall man with a high hat and a whiskers on his chin will soon be knocking at your door, and you ought to be in. The tall man with the high hat will be coming down your way. Get your savings out when you hear him shout, "Any bonds today?" Come on and get him, folks. Come on, skip right up and get him.
This cartoon showed Bugs Bunny going around selling bonds for the war effort, and at one point, he even goes into blackface for some reason, possibly to appeal to the African American population. Even President Roosevelt went public to sell these bonds, known formally as the Series E bonds.
The outward and visible tokens of partnership through sacrifice will be the possession of these defense bonds and defense saving stamps, which are at the same time a guarantee of our future security.
Series E bonds were sold for as little as $18.75 and matured in 10 years, at which time the U.S. government would pay the bondholder $25. Larger denominations were also sold, with dollar amounts ranging from $50 to $10,000. But wait, what are war bonds? I'm glad you asked. A war bond is a type of bond. A bond is a debt security, which is a fancy way of saying a loan between a borrower and a lender, but with some standard features. Like any loan, it has a dollar value amount. In this case, it's called a face value, or principal of the bond, an interest rate, usually called a coupon rate, and a term of years in which it has to be paid back, known as the maturity. It is made standard so that it can be traded between lenders. This is done by giving the bond a market price that trades in real time based on the risks involved with that bond, such as the ability for the borrower to pay the principal back. This is a bit intense, and we'll definitely cover bonds in general in future videos. However, for now, we're dealing with war bonds, which thankfully are the simplest type of bond. They have a fixed price, they can't be sold to other lenders, and have a zero coupon. So how does this work? Let's say Howard Stark's butler Jarvis attended one of Captain America's shows and decides he wants to help fund the war effort. He isn't too rich, so he needs to save to be able to get the minimum principal amount of $18.75. That would be about $350 in 2019. To help with this, the government came up with a savings program. They would sell stamps at 5 different denominations ranging from 10 cents to $5 called the Minuteman stamps. These stamps were purchased at face value and earned no interest. Individuals accumulated their war saving stamps in various collection books provided with the purchase of a stamp. Once a collection book was filled, it could be traded for a Series E war bond. So Jarvis would try to fill his 25-cent booklet containing 75 stamps. Once filled, it would be worth $18.75, which was the initial price for a $25 war bond that he could now exchange it for. The initial price represents 75% of the face value, which was the case for all denominations of the Series E bond. They yielded 2.9% annually over the 10-year lifetime. All of these efforts ended a campaign that was a resounding success. During World War II, 85 million Americans held war bonds. That's half the country's population at the time. The US government was able to raise $186 billion during the course of the war. If you happen to find a war bond in your attic, you can check how much it's worth today. After the bond matured by getting through its 10-year term, the principal amount kept compounding annually. Many were granted interest extensions of 30 to 40 years. So for example, a $1,000 Series E bond purchased in 1941 was worth $3,600 after its 40-year extension. The Treasury Direct website can tell you how much your Series E bonds are worth today when you fill out the details. To claim your bond, take it to your bank. All major and regional banks will pay out in cash. If there are any TV shows, movies, topics you would like covered in the future, please let me know in the comments. Please subscribe, and for announcements, check out my Twitter at NextAce Network and Instagram at NextAce Network. Finally, look out for my Patreon page.
You just don't know when to give up, do you? Hang on this all day.